And there's some great venues. But I'm wondering now whether some of these venues could be every 2 years rather than every year.
Well, that is interesting. What do you think, Les?
I totally agree. The hearing and talking to some of the folks around the paddock that, last year they felt it was too much. And Jonathan's exactly right. He's lived that life enough, and it's going to be tough to sustain that. And I think what's going to happen is you're going to see these people getting wore out over their job. I think a couple of things. Budgets. The more races there are, the more likelihood you're going to have to spend bigger money on budgets, attrition rate of parts, all those kinds of things. It's a tough life to lead, especially if you have a family and a tight budget.
Well, all of that is bad for them and good for us because we get to have we get to watch tons of racing. So
one thing I will say, John, that Liberty Media have made a good effort. If you look at the sort of pairing of where they're going, they're making a much more solid effort not to spring from one continent to another and try to do, much more logistic planning, which wasn't really part of the scene. And even, it just take our leg, if you will, which is COTA, Mexico, Brazil, Vegas. So you stay on the you stay in that North American area rather than zipping back to Japan or, so they have made an effort to not cut costs, but at least make it more, useful as a championship.
Well, and they could throw the sustainability part of that because they've been so focused on that. But let's talk about this. So we're starting this year on March 5th in Bahrain, and that's the earliest it's been in a long time. And we're ending in Abu Dhabi on November 26th. So we're not getting into December, but we are starting very early in March. And of course, we've got races in China and Qatar returning. And of course, Vegas making its debut and the French Grand Prix going away from this year's schedule. And this is a really nice one to say, guys. The United States is the country with the most races. As we know, it's hosting 3. So we got Miami again in May, Austin in October, and Vegas on Saturday night, November 18. Of course, Italy has 2, but Saturday night in Vegas, boys and girls, I think.
Gotta be.
I mean, some people are saying, why is it starting so late? There's been a bunch of chatter about, look, they're trying to grow the sport in the United States. Why having it so late? Because it's Vegas, baby. Vegas didn't even get going until 10 o'clock. Can you imagine if they had it at, in the afternoon, there'd be nobody there. They'd all be still in bed.
Yeah.
2 triple headers
this year. For that. This week, I heard from a collective group of friends in Vegas, and they're really starting to stir things up. The folks there are starting to hear about it. And remember when they first talked about F1 in Vegas, Vegas sees so many conferences, sees so many major events taking place that many of them don't realize the enormous scope of Formula One. And so I was happy to hear that these guys are beginning to hear it, spoken more often. One of them already has called up and asked, where do I get my tickets? And I said, can't get them yet, but hold on.
Well,
yeah. And also you mentioned that late start time. That's because Vegas also planned to do what Vegas does, which is put on a really big entertainment setup and lead up. And of course, they've got it all on hand. I mean, if you go to Vegas, you know that you can see several superstars playing each night in Vegas. So you've got the gambling, you've got the entertainment, you've got some amazing shows, Cirque du Soleil, you name it. And then that'll lead up to the Grand Prix. So it'll be one hell of a weekend as a spectacle.
Yep. And the racetrack looks pretty interesting, too, because the racetrack is long and with a nice long straight, too. So it's going to be really interesting to watch this thing come together. And I've seen there's a few photos out. Do you see those, guys, about the buildings and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have. They're coming up. In fact, there was already some construction going on along the route of the track that they're looking to push it and accelerate it a little bit quicker to make sure it is set for multiple reasons. For one, construction near the track. 2, it's actually an opportunity to have additional venue and space for the race itself right on the edge of the strip there.
Yeah.
So it's going to be fun.
I mean, they're saying 210 miles an hour right through all those crazy historic landmarks, hotels, casinos, and everything right on the Vegas Strip. And both Jonathan, I bet you can even tell me the year, but I bet both you guys can. When's the last time we were in Vegas?
It was a disaster. I know that. And that's, I was about to say one of the things, I think it was 80.
Let's see. I'm going to have to cheat.
Y'all are Googling it. Y'all are taking too long.
I did. No, I told you I got to cheat. It's 81 and 84.
82.
84 I didn't know about. Yeah. But that was in the car park at Caesar's Palace. And the thing I was going to mention, John, is this is not a temporary fix. Liberty are voting with their feet. They bought land right there to develop. You know, there's talk of a Ferrari world. So that instead of just sort of making it a temporary thing, they are in for the long run. They want Vegas to have this Grand Prix for many years to come. And that's important because it was always a bit of a sideshow, you know, and it wasn't ever a successful event in Formula One. And also the other thing I was going to make a point of is look where it is in the championship. If we have a tight championship, no data from Vegas, and then you're putting the championship on the line with Abu Dhabi to come, where you've got lots of data. So it could prove to be one of the most important races of the year.
Yeah, you put it on a calendar spot right at the end there, and you're absolutely right. You could set it up that way, couldn't you? So we'll have to see how that plays out. But what about the rest of the calendar, Jonathan? We don't have Russia, thank goodness. Yes. But what about the other? You know, we got China back on now. What do you think about some of those changes in this 24 race schedule?
I'm sad about France for the simple reason that Alpine and the French drivers that we've got, and I thought Eric Bouillet did a good job. I think it should be Magny-Cours myself instead of Paul Ricard. I never liked Paul Ricard. I'm still not 100% sold on Imola, much as I love it as a track. It's, you know, it's tight and there's not a lot of overtaking. Obviously Miami did a hell of a job. They deserve to be there. Azerbaijan is now becoming a classic. Having China back on, I think it's timely in that it's you know, it's in Shanghai, which has got a fantastic Formula One circuit. They've got a Chinese driver, although he's not confirmed yet. We'll get into that later. But Guan Yu Zhao will be, you know, a billboard for them, and it's the first real Chinese driver they've had that can, you know, bring Formula One back to China. Yeah. So in all, there's, you know, on all the classics are there, you know. So I think it's good. I'm not a big fan of Qatar as a track. I've been there many times on bikes. And I don't like the amount of Middle Eastern races we've got, which, if I'm being a cynic, are for money rather than venue. Same with the World Cup soccer in Qatar, you know. And I'm not going to make any Middle Eastern friends, but it's the truth, you know. So that's just my personal take. I think Abu Dhabi's well established, but I don't think Qatar, as well as Bahrain, and I mean, you know, you talk about America having 3 races. Well, the Middle East has 4.
Yeah. A couple comments coming in on YouTube. Frank says, hopefully it won't be bumpy like most new circuits. Vegas is a great backdrop for racing. Yeah, that's cool. Paul Bryan says 10 p.m. just like a heavyweight champ fight. That's true. In Vegas, that's what you get. This is something that I had forgotten about. And Old Timer says, did you see the NASCAR series that's been on the USA Network? I haven't seen that. And it's a copy of Drive to Survive, but I've been meaning to check it out, but I haven't, Old Timer, and have you guys seen that yet?
What is it?
It's like a Drive to Survive for NASCAR. It's on the USA Network.
I have not.
I haven't
seen
either.
the Bubba Wallace one.
I know. I haven't hard enough time keeping up with everything that's happening in Formula One. But
Jonathan, I got a question for you. Going back to Vegas, and speaking of it, I mean, Vegas is a show town, gambling, you know, people from all over the world come there. But relative to it, you call the Macau Grand Prix regularly. What is it like in a location like that when the motorsports world comes to the streets?
You know, I hadn't thought about it, but that's a really good parallel. In fact, it's probably the best parallel there is because, yeah, Macau is now in its 67th year this year. So it's been running that event around the streets since 1954, long before it was a parallel, if not bigger than Vegas, as a gambling capital. And now Macau is the gambling capital with Wynns and MGM and all the same people that are in Vegas, because they did a deal. Stanley Ho, who's the big gambling guy in Macau, did a deal with the Vegas outfits. And therefore now Macau is, this huge Vegas wannabe, as it were, but it actually turns over more than Vegas. It is. It turns over more than Vegas in 1 week than Vegas turns over in a month. That gives you an idea. But to answer your question, it's fantastic because everybody's there for that. It's a lottery, just like gambling, and so is motorsport around a street circuit. So to be honest, there's a lot of parallels there, and people go there to take a risk, to throw the dice, and that. I know it's a cliche, but that really is what the race itself is about, because it's Armco everywhere, and this will be the same for Vegas. So yeah, I think I don't think there's any truth to the fact that how many times Crofty will say "out go the lights" is an actual bet you can bet on, or if Martin Brundle will get the names of any of the celebrities wrong. But I'm sure there'll be a sweepstakes of some sort.
All right, gentlemen, we got to get a break in real quick here. And when we come back, we have a phone call lit up. By the way, if you want to join the conversation, 512-643-LIVE. But we got a caller on the line. We have a young Austin race driver going to join us. Stick with us. We'll be back after these messages.
Hi, this is Karan Chandok, and you're listening to Speed City.
Welcome back to the fastest hour in radio, Speed City.
All right, welcome back. We said we had a phone call, and we are really excited. We have a young race driver from Austin, right here in Austin, and he has been competing in the U.S. Formula 4 Championship, and we have Ryan Shehan on the phone. Hey, Ryan, how's it going, man?
It's going good. Thanks for having me.
Well, we could not have you with as much success as you've been having lately. Congratulations, man. You're killing it lately.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a really good year. Just hoping to carry that momentum through the rest of the year and then into next year.
Well, Jonathan Green says he's got all the results. Jonathan, tell us how good this boy's been doing.
Well, just at New Jersey last time out, he was unstoppable. Am I right in saying a win and 2 podiums?
Yeah, it was 3 podiums in total, including a win. So it's pretty hard to beat that.
And that puts you, with 6 to go, that puts you in contention for the overall title, right?
Yep, definitely still in the hunt for the title. That's obviously our goal. So, yeah, going for that.
Wow, this is a great story, Ryan. As you know, we followed you since you started. And just to remind our audience, tell us how you got the dream, if you will. Tell us how you went to COTA and got the dream.
Yeah, so I went to COTA, I think it was a year after it opened, went to a sports car race and just fell in love. So I guess you could say COTA kind of did its job in bringing the Formula One dream to the United States. So now we're on that ladder, and hopefully we'll get there one day.
Ryan, this is so cool watching you. Because you never know how someone's going to do, right? You have no idea. We saw some inklings of how good you could be early on last year. But, this is really fantastic. I immediately start going, okay, what's next? I know you have to get through a season, but what would happen if you won the championship or finished to top 2 or 3 in the championship? Do you think you might jump to FR Americas, the F3 series?
Yeah, that's definitely our goal. I think that we've proven that we have the speed in F4 and that we can carry that to the next level and then try to get some results there. So yeah, Formula Regional Americas is definitely our goal for next year. That'll be the move.
Hey, Ryan.
So Ryan,
go ahead, Jonathan. Go ahead.
What you need to do then is to get top 3 in Formula 4, then come down here to New Zealand, where I am right now, for the Toyota Racing Series, which is also an FIA super license point scoring championship. Take on the rest of the world, then head back and do FR. Deal?
Yeah, I do know some Kiwis, so
yeah,
so that might be possible.
Yeah, yeah, you're with the Kiwi Motorsport team. That's true. I was about Jonathan. You beat me to it. Sort of. I couldn't remember if you get any You would think I would know every super license points after all this crazy discussion. But are there any super license points in FIF in the F4 Americas?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's obviously not a ton, but it is a good amount. I think it's 12 to win the championship, which can be that can make the difference. I think Colton Herta only needed like 8 max.
8.
So it could be the difference,
Yeah, 12
What's your
points.
take on all that?
What exactly? What's your take on this whole crazy situation?
I think it's complicated. I mean, obviously, the super license system, it's there for a reason, but I think that they could do some reworking on the kind of Indy side just to give it a little bit more, at least bring IndyCar up to F2 level. I think that would be a good way to kind of even the playing field. But I think that there could definitely be some reworking there.
Yeah, I think that is the consensus, isn't it? Everybody is saying that if they could fix IndyCar, that would solve the crazy problem we have. But if we've talked about it a bunch, Ryan. So, well, Ryan, what's been I was going to say what's been the best weekend, but it has to be the last one. But what about this year, just in general? Talk about it, because this is really amazing.
Yeah, I mean, we did a ton of work, not just in the car, but over the winter, just the physical training, the mental side of it. So we've done a ton of work there, and so we really hit the ground running this year. And I think that's really shown with the results that not just me, but the entire Kiwi team is bringing in. Because I believe my teammate Bryson Morris is second, so I feel like we're leading the team championship. So I think that really shows where we are and that we're with the best in the business. So I'm really proud of the team and really happy to be working with them this year.
Hey, Ryan, we got a question on YouTube. Wesman wants to know, who are your racing heroes?
Yeah, I started really following racing around 2013, 2014. So I'm relatively new compared to some people who have been in it for decades. But I'm a fan of all the the kind of people I can relate to. So the younger drivers, so the Lando Norrises, the George Russells, Alex Albons. I do appreciate Max Verstappen's just his skill. He's an amazing driver no matter what people say. So I'd say that he's one of my heroes just because of you can't really get in his head.
Yeah. Jonathan, you got one?
Yeah, Ryan, as you know, I've followed you very closely, full sort of exposure. We've followed because you're from Austin, especially. But I was there when you got your first pole in F4 at VIR. And, I've been watching very closely. Do you now have, by the way, 10 points for a win in the Toyota Racing Series super license points. So come for it. But do you have a driver coach or somebody who is helping you become a better driver?
I don't have a personal driver coach. We have engineers with Kiwi who work with not all the drivers, but will work with me and a few drivers. But yeah, I don't have a personal coach, but I've never really found that I needed one because the engineers do such a good job, with the overlaying my data with my teammates. I can see where maybe I'm better, where they're better. We can watch video. So I've never really found that I need, a personal racing coach. I feel like the engineers do such a great job that it's never really been necessary.
Les, you got one?
Yeah, Ryan, one of the things I was talking to somebody this week about it, and they're like, my kid's really getting into this. Of course, they fell in love with it through Netflix. They got a 6-year-old. We want him to be the next, Lewis Hamilton. Well, they keep saying, what do we do for a 6-year-old to get out? And I'm like, it's karting. Get them out there, start, get behind the wheel, start pushing the limits and learning what goes on with it. You cut your teeth around here. Can you kind of give some tips a little bit deeper than that?
Yeah, I mean, karting is obviously, the first step. It's definitely the way to go. It's where you kind of learn the ropes, I think you learn most of your racecraft in karting, because obviously the car is pretty different handling wise. So I feel like it's really just for learning, the basics of car control and then your racecraft, mostly. But yeah, I'd say start as young as you can, so that you're getting, the maximum amount of time before you're in a car. And I mean, just drive, really. Once you're starting out, you're learning, so much every time you get in the seat, that seat time is so important. Just drive and race wherever you can.
Ryan, you've got a really cool story because you're doing great right now, and your dad is not Lawrence Stroll. Let me put it that way. Your dad is awesome. I know him, but he does not.
And that's a compliment.
He does not have his own racetrack and a fleet of Ferraris for you to practice on. So you guys have done an amazing job. Both of you guys have worked so hard to find sponsors, to be in the public, getting in with the Chamber of Commerce, doing everything you can. And you guys could write a book on how to do this. I swear, you've really done everything right. The tenacity that both of you guys have shown is really an amazing story. And we are going to follow that story and hope to see you. Let's see, if you go the regular path, will you be old enough to drink when you go to Vegas? Probably not, because how old are you now, Ryan? 17?
Yeah, I'm 17. I mean, next year, by the time Vegas comes around, I'll be 18. So not yet.
Well, Ryan, thanks for calling in, buddy. It was really last minute. I just shot you a quick phone call right for the show because I saw how good you were doing. We really appreciate you coming on. Yeah.
Let me just tell the folks in Austin, come see him November 6th, Trans Am at COTA, as well as F4. It'll be the last 3 races of the season, and I know my boy Shehan's going to be going for the title.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Ryan, thanks, buddy. We'll see you soon.
Thank you guys for having me.
All right.
You got it, Ryan. Take care, man.
All right, guys, let's go to a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk F1 silly season and all these remaining seats in Formula One. Back after these messages.
Hi, this is Mario Andretti, and this is Speed City.
Welcome back to the fastest hour in radio, Speed City.
Okay, once again, Paul Bryan, I swear he's bugging my phone because Paul Bryan says that young man presents verbally better than any other and every other young and many older driver you've had on, and you know I'm a tough critic. Well done. Well, while Ryan was talking, I was thinking that because 2 years ago, when we were doing some stuff for them, he was not that great on the microphone, and he sounded just fantastic, didn't he? So you're right on the money, Paul. Brian says, with little or no noise coming out of Andretti in regard to their F1, is that actually promising news-ish? ? And my response to that is, the fact that it's quiet is a neither here nor there, but we're hearing still good rumors that it's not dead, gentlemen. And we do have some pretty good connections there. So we don't know anything for sure, but I know that it's not dead, at least as of, 48 hours ago. So keep your hopes up there. I still have actually pretty high hopes, and mine went up when Porsche dropped out of their relationship with Red Bull. And I don't know anything about that, but it just makes way too much sense for that to not at least be a conversation. So, and Jonathan, you had the incredible theory that we've all been talking about, but you've got a theory 1.5 or 2.0 now?
2.0 now, yeah. Well, I told you about my theory of Helmut Marko selling his AlphaTauri team to Michael Andretti. That was my first theory, right? And that's possible, especially now that Porsche have pulled out. If you remember, Michael said he's got a deal with Renault engines, but he's also running Honda in Indy, which is what AlphaTauri run and what Red Bull run. So there's some crossovers there. That was my first theory. But my next one is, if the truth is they don't want another franchise, and there's no question that Toto, and the other teams, including Haas, have said they don't want an 11th franchise, even though there are a potential of 13. But even Dominicali has come out and said, I'm not so sure that we want another one right now. So my next theory is Zach Brown.
Okay.
Zach Brown is in already bed with Michael Andretti and is running Andretti drivers on his Friday run program. He's in bed with him in Australia in supercars, and he's in bed with him in Formula Extreme, which is happening this weekend. So there's a lot of crossover between Zach Brown and Michael Andretti, and maybe Michael's best bet is for McLaren on celebrating their 75th anniversary next year to announce a second McLaren team.
Okay, I do like this.
Interesting.
I do like this. Let us know what you think about that, either in the comments or you can always Facebook or tweet at us too. Very interesting, Jonathan.
Well, I mean, that would be another franchise, but it would be connected to McLaren F1.
Yeah. The thing I do like about it is
the only
same
team
thing.
Who could do it, really.
Yeah, and one thing I do like about it is something that I've thought about. People talk about how this huge bulge of fans that we've got from Drive to Survive and how that could be a bit of a fad. Who knows how long fads last, right? But Andretti is one of those teams that's in it for the long haul, right? I would think that we see manufacturers come in and out of motorsport all the time, but Andretti is there for the long haul. If they let's say they work a deal with Porsche and then Porsche decides they want out, they could work with somebody else. And the same thing with McLaren, with Zach Brown. You don't see them wanting to drop in and out. Yeah, Jonathan.
Yeah, one more thing, just a personal note, Mr. Wolf, if you're listening, Toto. Michael Andretti is not just successful in America, as you have been quoted as saying. He's doing a good job in America, but Michael Andretti is a successful motorsport businessman worldwide, globally, way outside of your tiny bubble of Mercedes, my friend. Yeah,
good point. All right, let's talk silly season drivers, Jonathan, because there's still some seats that are not they're not full for next year, because we've wrote down when spoke earlier, we said Alpine, Alfa Romeo, Haas, AlphaTauri, and Williams. To me, those are the ones that have second seats. So I want to start with Williams because that's where Logan Sargent could end up. Wesman says on YouTube, as long as Logan Sargent doesn't have a terrible weekend in Abu Dhabi, he's almost certainly got himself for that Williams drive. And what has to happen with that, and what Wesman is talking about, is super license points once again, because Logan Sargent needs to finish third or higher. No, wait, I'm sorry. That's not right. He needs to finish, let me look at my notes here, because he could, that there's a whole bunch of drivers that are right there in with him right now. And if he doesn't get those super license points, he could be, that's as we've seen, that's a problem. So what do you think about, first of all, let's talk Williams, Jonathan. What else besides Logan Sargent?
Well, the problem that Logan has got, as you know, he's the official reserve driver, and he'll be doing a Friday drive at Circuit of the Americas. But he's got some competition because obviously Williams used Mercedes engines, and therefore Nick de Vries, who came in and did a very good job when he had to, could well be in the hunt for that seat. Ricciardo's still floating around with 20 million in his back pocket. Still a very good set of hands. Williams on the up and up. They could do with a real star like Ricciardo to help Albon as well. That's a good combo. But Sargent's the coming man, and Sargent's going to have the points, and we do need an American on the grid in Vegas.
Yeah, alongside Alexander Albon there. So, all right. So let's look at Haas next, and Kevin Magnussen is staying for sure, and it looks like that Schumacher's out. So the names that have been thrown around are Daniel Ricciardo and of course Nico Hülkenberg. Les, what do you think? Who do you think is got the inside track there?
I think my heart and head are together on Daniel Ricciardo. A couple of reasons.
Really? Okay.
Great personality.
But why? Why do you think Haas is going to take him?
Why? Because
over Hulk.
yard sale material. Daniel Ricciardo doesn't have to get his full salary next year. He could negotiate, I'll give you half price this year, but if I do this for you this first time with you next year, that is,
he could buy a driver.
Do that, I go back to a solid salary. We predetermine some scale at that point. Daniel Ricciardo loves the United States, hangs out in LA a lot, just kind of loves the American Wild West persona, if you will. Haas could use a veteran in that seat who has proven well with cars. He's well spoken around the engineering speak, and I don't see any conflict between he and Magnussen. So I think that's an element that needs to be said.
I don't know. I think Hulk's got the inside track. I think you said Daniel Ricciardo likes the United States. Yes, that's clear. I don't know if there's enough tie there with Haas, honestly. So
to go NASCAR.
Well, I know. Honestly, I think he might be leaning that way more. But what'd you say about buying a seat, Jonathan? That's interesting.
Well, yeah. I mean, in all seriousness, I wasn't joking. They had to pay Ricciardo out of his contract because he had another year at McLaren, and the rumors are that it was worth $23 million.
Yeah.
And Mark Webber is his, and his manager. And sorry, not Mark Webber. He's his own manager. Piastri's Webber's manager is Webber.
Yeah.
Piastri's manager. But no, I mean, he could effectively buy his way into Alpine or Haas or any Alfa Romeo because he's got that money. I mean, yes, you can put it in the bank, but he could take 10 million to a team like Haas. And then what the heck?
Maybe less, Jonathan.
Against Magnussen.
I like this. I like it just because I haven't heard anybody talking about this. Yeah. But
by the way, I've got one more thing on Sargent. It's a little known fact, but you get 1 point, one FIA super license point for driving at least 100 kilometers during free practice. So, and up to 10 points. So you could argue that once Sargent is almost eligible, they could throw him in the Williams practice car on a Friday, maybe 3 or 4 times to pick up 4 points.
Yeah, well, obviously he's doing Austin, so he's got those.
Yep.
If he can get
a point.
Yep. Brian says Nico or Giovinazzi going to Haas would be so boring.
Yes, I agree.
So
that's the other option, is that Giovinazzi is still an asset to Ferrari. So he's a shoo-in. I don't know why everybody's talking about getting rid of Schumacher. I just, did he do a bad job?
That it crossed my mind when we were doing this research today, because I was thinking he hasn't done a miserable job. I mean, if you go back to the beginning of the year when he had those giant crashes and cost the team a ton of money, that was bad. But he redeemed himself to some degree, for sure. He outqualified Magnussen, I don't know what, twice, I think. And he either outqualified him twice, or I know he finished better than him at least once or twice. So he certainly, it all started to click there. And so who knows? Maybe that's right, Jonathan. Maybe everything could turn around. Now we know the relationship with Ferrari is supposedly ending as well. That may be part of it. I mean, it's clear that's part of it, but that may be a driving factor.
Yeah, and I think the reason he's done that is that if you look at the two drivers that Ferrari have got, plus their own academy, what's Schumacher going to do with a junior Ferrari drive? He can only drive for Haas, which he currently drives for, Alfa Romeo or Ferrari. And Ferrari have 2 drivers that will surely be there unless they fall out, unless Leclerc gets fed up with being told the wrong things to do and leaves. So that's, you can't plan your future on Leclerc, one of the best drivers in the world, to give up the ghost. Or Carlos Sainz moves. It's not going to happen. I mean, in theory.
All right. Well,
but the big story we haven't talked about, obviously, which is going to change the whole world, is whether Gasly stays or goes to Alpine.
Yep. That is really, that's where all the dominoes start falling, because in Alpine, I think that's the most likely thing to happen is Gasly goes to Alpine, and the other possibles for that seat are Giovinazzi, Nick DeVries, Doohan.
Schumacher?
Yeah, that's right. But I think
Theo Porcher.
I think Nick DeVries is going to end up at AlphaTauri. And I put Alfa Romeo on there, but it looks like That's done with Zhou Guanyu. So what do you think
Well,
of,
especially with the Chinese Grand Prix.
yeah, exactly. So what do you think about my thought of Nick DeVries alongside Yuki Tsunoda at AlphaTauri?
That would be helpful for Yuki. He's had a solid first year, but he's still rough around the edges. He's had a lot of mental coaches and driver coaches, and they're trying to calm him down. He gets very frustrated. He was here at the Toyota Racing Series just 2 years ago. He is rough around the edges. He's a young kid, and he's vaulted into Formula One because of Honda. And I think he's got the skills. He showed that in F2, but he's still very much rough around the edges. And I don't think a world champion in Formula E like Nick DeVries could actually be a really healthy help to him.
Yeah, and let's not forget, DeVries is 27, so and clearly knew what he was doing in an F1 car the other day after being thrown in one right after breakfast. Literally.
Well, I think that's something we started to talk a little bit about the other day when we were talking super license points and how Max got in before he was 100% qualified and proven. Well, he was immature and he had a lot of issues first coming in. DeVries has that sense of maturity about him. He can be told to hold back a little bit, and he gets the idea and the strategy. And so I actually give DeVries an upper hand on some of our other drivers that we're talking about.
Yep. All right, guys, we'll get our last break in real quick, and when we come back, we're going to talk COTA a little bit because we are 30 days out, and there's some things that have been happening around here, getting ready for the USGP, and we'll talk about those. Back after these messages.
Hi, this is Max Verstappen, and you're listening to Speed City.
Welcome back to the fastest hour in radio, Speed City.
All right, well, I'm going to let Les Kaiser talk about Circuit of the Americas for the USGP because we've had everything from new roads put in. That's going to be the most exciting thing for a lot of people, being able to get in and out now that 400,000 people come there. But Les, take it away, buddy.
Right. Hey, first off, I want to say everybody around the COTA organization has acknowledged the opportunities to improve things, and they have put a lot of effort into this. And so a lot of things are different, but honestly, their goal is to get you into the facility, get you into the spot as quick and safely as you can. So really pay attention to what we've got here. They're also out there on Circuit of the Americas website. But here we go. Tickets. I hope you already got them because officially they are pretty much sold out on 3-day. There's some travel packages. There's some other things we'll get into. But if you want tickets, there's not a lot of opportunity to get many of them. There's a few still on the website for single-day passes.
Yeah, I know a place to get some, Les. We work with the guys at Ticket City. If your tickets are sold out on circuitamericas.com, Ticket City here in Austin is a great resource. And I say that because they're good guys too. They typically they've embraced the Formula One at COTA, and they have a pretty decent selection, and they're good guys too. You can trust them, and it's a great organization. They've been around forever in Austin, so they're a fixture.
I used to buy concert tickets from those guys, and it's a great place. You know, those sold out shows. I mean, here's a great example of it. COTA's sold out. You can bet that Ticket City's going to have some. Last year, one of my buddies bought tickets there, and he said they were reasonably priced. He said, and more importantly, I didn't worry about getting scammed by going to Ticket City versus somebody I met in one of the social media forums or what have you. So there's a great deal of comfort there. We had somebody that got scammed on some tickets, and heartbreaking for you to make all that effort to get here. So Ticket City, you're right, John. That's a good one.
Yeah. All right. What else, Les?
Shared hospitality. Shared hospitality gets all kinds of premium things. I heard that those are starting out for around $1,400 a person for the weekend. So that's where things start. A lot of a la carte. Ride share is really important. These ride shares, Uber, Lyft, things like that, they're not going to be dropped off on COTA property this year. They're going to be dropped off over at the Del Valley High School, a few minutes away, and then it's a park and ride kind of situation from over there.
But it's complimentary too. That's a free ride there. Yeah.
Yes, and so be aware of that. Infield grandstands have come up. There's new seating. You saw those get offered. They sold out. Blink of an eye. So why do you care if they're sold out? Well, that's impacted a little bit of the general admission. Their general admission spots are a little bit tighter. on locations because of these additional grandstands, but still there's plenty. And do it. Here's what I tell my folks when they come to town: tennis shoes, earbuds, a pocket poncho, and sunscreen and sunglasses. Great walking shoes. Get there on Friday, walk around a general admission, scout out the place you really want to be for the race, and get there, be waiting for the gates to open Sunday morning. So still a lot of great options. You talked about widening the road. Elroy Road went through a transformation over in the past year. This is now like a 5-lane wide road. It's one of the flex roads. It's engineered so that, at one point there may be 4 lanes going in and 1 coming out, and vice versa. They can adjust it throughout the day. So
and we've driven that. Jonathan and I drove that not too long. I've driven it a couple times since they did it, and it is it's like it looks like interstate. It is a massive wide road. So that is and that was a 2-lane little tiny road. So that's going to make a massive impact on getting in and out.
Exactly. Parking is mostly sold out, so be aware of that. And so the thing that is especially to be aware of with that are the shuttles. Shuttles are going to run from 3 different locations. One of them is downtown. And if you ride from the one that's downtown, it brings you all the way over to COTA Boulevard. Great stop. It drops you off in a real convenient spot to the Amphitheater Grand Plaza entrance. The other locations are Travis County Expo and Barton Creek Center, the mall on the southwest side of town. Barton Creek is only running on Saturday and Sunday, but Travis County Expo, both of those places have free parking. But beware, they actually drop you off on Angus Road. There's a nice paved sidewalk from Angus Road drop-off point to the amphitheater. It is about a 15 or 20-minute walk down that long trail. So take that into consideration, a little bit of difference. So be aware of that. It's really a big deal. Like I said, when we get back to the weekend schedule, the shows, everybody's there about the concerts. My daughters are all jazzed up. I'm going to be there for Green Day. They're going to be there for Ed Sheeran. Ed Sheeran's on Saturday. Green Day is on Friday. So just beware of those schedules. Really go to the COTA website around the F1 event. There's a lot of detailed information, and please pay attention. Things have changed, and they put a lot of effort to really studying the impacts of all these changes and improving your experience around it.
Jonathan, what about the schedule?
Yeah, nice stuff, Les. By the way, Green Day is Friday, but Green Day is every day for me. No, I just want to let you know, we'll be on the mics, obviously, as we always are, but thank you. Masters Endurance Legends and Masters Historic will also be part of the Formula One weekend and the W Series. And bring your daughters out, let them see motor racing in its full glory. The best women in the world, including the championship leader, Jamie Chadwick, who's about to race at Singapore. She just did an Indy Lights test for Andretti Motorsport, could well be in Indy Lights next year with Andretti. And we've also got some skin in the game. Chloe Chambers, who came from F4, same as Ryan Shehan. She's in the W Series, a young American from New York, so watch out for them. So the W Series plus the Historics, and there might be a former world champion with a famous name that I uttered just a moment ago on the schedule.
On the schedule?
Yes, on the schedule.
Schedule. Easy for you to say.
That one.
All right. And anything else on COTA? Because I want to talk about MotoGP. I know we don't talk a lot about MotoGP, but we love it, and we still, do when we can. So back in Japan for the first time in a long time, in a few years, I should say, Marquez was on the pole, first time in 3 years. And you know what, guys? He looked pretty darn good. Les, I know you were moving today. You didn't get a chance to see it. Jonathan, I don't know if you did.
I saw it.
But yeah, he looked good, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. I mean, this is only his second run, and he had an okay run last week. But pole, he finished fourth in the end. Got a last-minute overtake on the second to last lap. But yeah, I mean, with Rossi gone, we need Marquez, and Marquez is looking good. He won't have anything to do with the championship, which, by the way, with Alicia Spargaro going out right at the very get-go on the warm-up lap, and then Bagnaia having a crash. Of all things, weirdly, Fabio Quartararo, who didn't have a great weekend, managed to scrape an 8th or whatever, and now increases his lead just. So it's going all the way this year.
Yeah. Did you see Pecco Bagnaia just missed Quartararo by just a hair when he wiped out? I mean, he almost almost took Quartararo out of the race with him. And did you see what Bagnaia did when he stood up after he crashed? He gave himself a sarcastic round of applause. I thought that was...
Yeah, we weren't sure whether he was applauding himself for being an idiot or applauding Fabio for cutting across him, but I think it was more to do with the sarcasm. Yeah,
I was giving him the benefit of the doubt and saying he was giving himself a hard time. But anytime Jack Miller wins a race, you have to stay for the post-race interviews because he's great. But he looked great, didn't he, Jonathan? It was probably his most dominant win.
That's what the commentator says. Yeah, but that was probably his best ever.
Yeah.
He's won 3 races before, but that was a really dominant performance where on a year where Ducati are dominating, and he made the rest of the Ducati entries look pretty weak.
Yeah, Johnny Spa says Miller time in all caps. Yeah, Jack says Jack put on a clinic. He really did. It was really fun to watch, and he's just as fun to watch after the race in his post-race interviews. But yeah, it was fun to watch. Darren Bender crashed out. It was sad to see that. Did you see that huge fire that I think it was a Japanese rider, right, at the Japanese race? His bike completely caught fire, and I thought we were going to shut the whole thing down, but apparently no oil on the track. But all right, guys, we're almost out of time. I want to make sure everybody remembers all of our shows. We got a lot of folks watching on YouTube. Thank you for that. Give us a like if you're on YouTube. That always helps us out. And we have our Formula One pre- and post-race shows with Bob Varsha joining us and Dave O'Neill when he can. He's one of the busiest men in motorsports, the former Haas F1 team manager. He's here in Austin. He joins us a lot. And, of course, Chris Medlin and I do a midweek show that you can go to our website, speedcitybroadcast.com, and find out how to listen to Chris. As you know, Chris joins us on our Formula One shows live with a microphone, walking through pit lane and the paddock, getting us all those cool real-time interviews. And, guys, remember, we broke the story of Colton Herta being looked at hard by Helmut Marko and Red Bull. I mean, we were the first ones out live with that, and that was really cool to have.
And we just bought Zach Brown a new franchise.
Yeah, we just started another rumor. So
I mean, that would have fucked the whole product.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
we broke that story too. That was.
We're gonna put that on a shirt, I think.
I think so too.
Definitely.
All right, well,
let's sell some for F1.
Thanks everybody for tuning in. Watch us on Facebook and Twitter and all that too. And we'll talk to you next Sunday.
Ciao, y'all.
Happy trails.